Arkansas, all sports. It's more sports.
Welcome into the show, everybody. I'm Wess Moore. Glad you're with us for another episode of More Sports. Tonight, we are going to talk about the More Sports team of the week, the Hot Springs Trojans, knocking off Lakeside, the city championship Friday night to win the 5A South. Huge win for them. Not only the conference champs, but the number one seed as they get ready for the playoffs. Head coach Darrell Burnett will join us in a bit. Thanks to our friends at Gwatney Buick GMC. They sponsor all the segments and interviews that we do here on More Sports. And we're going to talk a little Razorbacks tonight also. Kevin Bohannon from hogsports.com joins us now. K-Bo, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, Wes, doing great, man. Appreciate you having me back on. Seems to be like, look, we're heating up. It's right. Thanksgiving's 2 weeks away. The coaching search. It's funny when you put out an article on hogsports.com about, what's coming up this weekend. Everybody's like, who are we playing? I don't care who we're playing. Who are we going to hire? That's what they want to find out. So we'll see.
No, it's funny. I can do a show talking with some of the great former Razorbacks, talking about the program, and it's not until we get to the search and who they like and what the future of the program. That's what the fans want to see, and that's what they start commenting about. And speaking of, if you got a question for Kevin or for myself, be sure to hit us up, and I'll keep an eye on the chat room, and we can discuss some of your questions. Let's start with the coaching search. We'll get to LSU. If it bleeds, it leads, right? That's the old saying in news. And right. What needs to lead here is the coaching search. That's the most important thing. I thought it was a kind of a quiet weekend. I didn't get any text. I got something last week about the Razorbacks interviewing a sitting defensive coordinator in a Power 4 conference, which goes to show me the interview process, the feeling out process is still going. And I got to admit, they've talked to a lot of people, and they're still talking to people. So I give them credit for that. They are not leaving any stone unturned.
Yeah, I think the number that you and I had kind of come up with is somewhere around 20 to 30. I mean, just as far as reaching out, maybe more than that, reaching out, feeling out, and really peeling back that onion to vet everyone and make sure they had their ducks in a row for any avenue that this coaching search could go down, especially with how things have unraveled in the SEC. When you have four coaches get dismissed before week 9, week 10, that is something that doesn't happen too often. I mean, the last time Arkansas and LSU were in this situation kind of at the same time, you have to go back to when Jerry Donardo was at LSU in the late 90s. Houston Nutt took over in 98, and then Donardo's last year was 99. But these schools haven't been, with interim coaches at the same time, in ever. There was recently, I believe, I heard it said the other day, it was maybe Auburn and Mississippi State were the last SEC teams to play each other with interim coaches. So that's something that doesn't happen very often. But the search firm that Arkansas hired was to do a lot of information gathering. And this is what you have on this guy, and Arkansas choose to pursue that. They can pursue it. They can go fly out. The flight trackers have been going nonstop, and that's always fun and things to look at and everything. But I still think there's one prize right now, and that's still James Franklin.
Yep, I agree. Every indication is that's the target. Now, can they reel in that target? It's like fishing. You see the fish, but you got to get him to bite. And
hunting season, modern gun season just started, and
that's
my
even better.
in-laws, down there, and they know that 12 point that's been in the area and that it lives there, but is it going to come out, and is it going to everything line up the way it should be to put that one on the wall? I think from everything that we've heard at hogsports.com, it could line up, and they're going to say, James, you need to tell us no. Here's what we have. And they have the financial situation, a better idea of it now. That's the good thing. The understanding that the fans need to know, it's not $40 million a season for the next 4 years. Now, it's $10 million a season is what needs to be raised to meet financial requirements for the Hogs to be in the top 5 to 8 over the next 4 years. Why is it important over the next 4 years? That's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. In 2030, 2031, that's when the TV contracts expire for the current contract with ABC, ESPN, and Disney. At that point, it is a firm belief that the conferences that they are known as now could explode. So it's now or never for Arkansas. If they're going to make a push, they have the money to do it. Let's get that done, and let's get it done now and make that big name hire like James Franklin.
Yeah, it was years ago. It was thrown out the idea of 4 16-team conferences, kind of a super group of 64 teams that would basically become Division I football again, and then have their own playoff, and then the group of 5 would have their own thing. So that's looking like the possibility is there that could happen. You have to be in that 64. I think Arkansas is fine. I don't see the SEC tossing them to the side, but you don't want to chance it. You, with the way the program was under Chad Morris, then you came back up to respectability, and now with 2-10 looking at the horizon as a possibility, if you get this hire wrong, then you could be in danger of something. And that's why this one is so important to get right. And I love the fact that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and Arkansas doesn't need to get to 10 wins or 11 wins right away like Indiana did under Kirk Cignetti or what Vanderbilt is doing right now. They need to get to the 8-win, 9-win plateau to show relevancy. That's the key word right now is relevancy. And prosper, getting a position where there's progression. That's the one thing that Sam Pittman couldn't do because the resources were not there. Not just about paying players and getting players out of the portal. It was about setting up a scouting system, setting up an advanced scouting system to where they can go out, scout players, look at players, whether at the high school or the portal level, and have a well-rounded system to where I call it the 360 system, to where everything around you is taken care of and you're at the middle of it and you're the one pulling the trigger. That's what James Franklin wants. It's not just about the $30 million requested for NIL. It's about making sure the support staff is taken care of. It's about making sure your coaches are taken care of. That's the big thing right there. Because if they're worrying about something, they can't do their job to the maximum efficiency.
Why do you think there's pushback on James Franklin? Because my opinion, I think it's a home run hire. I think that's exactly what the program needs. But you know how it is. You see it, I'm sure, on your message board. I hear it on the radio. There are those out there just dead set against this.
Yeah, they look at the 4-21 or 5 whatever it is, at this point. But then they look at, well, it's been a vanilla offense. They haven't had, the quarterback to come out and really do big things. But it's the Big Ten and what they've been doing up there for so long. It's still the Big Ten. Now they've won that conference has won the last 2 national championships. Ohio State spent $20 million on their roster last year. Inflation is taking that up a little bit. We know what Texas Tech has done, getting their oil magnate and saying, "Here's my credit card, go buy a roster." Okay, so guys are doing that now. And then Michigan won the year before, but it's not the high flying open offenses that go down and just put a lot of points on the board. There's an element of defense in play right there. So a lot of it has been the pushback has been it's a boring brand of football. Now, it could be said that the last time Arkansas hired a Big Ten head coach, obviously, it was 2013 and Brett Bielema. Even though he was successful in getting to the Big Ten championship and winning a Big Ten championship, that it was just bully ball and everything. Well, Brett obviously evolved with the game of football, and look what he's done at Illinois and kind of changed the way he does things. James Franklin will not run the same system he ran at Penn State that he'll run at Arkansas. Why? Because you're going to get different players. There are different athletes in the South than there is in the Midwest and the Northeast. They just are. I'm telling you, you can do a lot of different things recruiting the South that you can't do when you recruit the Midwest. Ohio State does it. Why? Because they recruit nationally. Michigan recruits nationally. As good as Penn State was, Wes, they did not recruit on a national level. James Franklin is comfortable in the Midwest and then the East Coast, Atlantic Coast area. That's where he's comfortable at. Now, he can recruit the South because he was at Vanderbilt, obviously, and you can pull in those type of guys. But at the end of the day, the almighty dollar is still going to talk and is still going to make what happens at Arkansas. That's going to determine what happens.
Say they can't agree to what he wants, or he doesn't want to come to Arkansas. Do you think Silverfield at Memphis is the next choice?
In my opinion, it is. Either him or Golish. There's talk about that could be him because of what he did at Tennessee. Obviously, Ron Silverfield has done some big things at Memphis. Obviously, he beat Arkansas, and that's one thing that fans will want to know. But the thing is, even Eric Morris at North Texas and what he's done there, I think if they whiff on Franklin, they're going to go the G5 route. I just think there's just something about it. It won't be John Summerall. I think Summerall's going to be at that next level. And I think you and I talked about this. The guys that are going for the Auburn, LSU, and Florida job are not going to be in kind of the same pool that Arkansas needs to go after. I think there's a different pool of guys just because of what they need. James Franklin needs that program that they're going to be okay with 8-9 wins a season. And then if we land at the right spot at the right time, that we're in the playoffs. LSU, Florida, and Auburn expect to be there every year. And that's obviously what Arkansas wants to do at some point, but they have to have a starting point. And they're late to the party. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But they have to start there at 8-9 wins, then get to the playoffs at some point.
Well, I have to say I have not heard anything about Dan Mullen lately, and I think that's a great option.
I'd love to have Dan Mullen, honestly. I think it would be a great fit. What he's done, it would be a lot of fun. He would win the press conference. He would win the recruiting battle. Going back to thinking about what he did at Florida as an offensive coordinator, that was a lot of fun to watch. What he did with James in the backfield, what he did with Demps, Percy Harvin, all of those guys, Tim Tebow, that was just a lot of fun to watch, Wes. And that was the offense that you really wanted to run when you were coming up and everything was spread out and you got to use a mobile quarterback. That was the thing that every offensive guru that came up, they derived it from what they were doing at Florida, and they just expanded off of that. So I'd be in on Dan Mullen for sure.
Any other names that excite you?
I would like Golish. I think he would do better at Arkansas than I think him and Silverfield are kind of 2A, 2B in my opinion. But I think Golish, with his attitude and the way he approaches the game, he is really fierce. That's one thing that I would say describe Alex Golish. And he takes no prisoners. That would be something that would kind of shock the system of Arkansas fans and maybe Arkansas players that are left around there. It's one of those things that you come in and like, this is the expectations that we're going to live up to them, or you're not going to be here. That's one of the things that I think there's been too much, give and take over the last 5 or 6 years.
Awesome too. Living in Russia until he was 7, his mom and dad leaves, with the war starting up, and move here with $400, and their Russian degrees didn't get them any American jobs, and so they just
did
what they could to survive and to raise their boys. And just his work ethic and what he's done, being a national recruiter of the year, just a great recruiter, then studying the offense, going to Tennessee, Heupel's offensive coordinator, and I like that SEC experience with him, and I like his mind, his work ethic, his recruiting. I think that the thing that excites me the most, even if whoever it turns out to be, there's some good candidates, and I feel like they should be able to get one of these.
Yeah, I think there's if whatever list of 5 it is, and unfortunately, it's not going to be Bobby Petrino. I just don't think he's going to get that shot. The way everything has turned out over this 9-week audition that he has had, it's just not going to work out. It was the situation he signed up for, and it was, everything was against him from the get-go. But there are a lot of good coaches out there, like you said, Wes, that would be a good fit for the job at Arkansas and would succeed there.
Pryor has a question.
Yeah.
Why no interest in the Texas Tech coach?
Yeah, I think it goes further than that. One of the things that he wants to build something at Texas Tech, and he wants to really show that they can do something in West Texas. They have. You can call it arrogance, you can call it confidence, you can call it what you want to right now, but are they going to be a one-hit wonder? That's one of those things that you have to look at and say, all right, he wants to build something at Texas Tech and then maybe parlay that into something else. Listening to their quarterback the other day before they were talking about the BYU game, they were like, their facilities are great at Texas Tech. They have something that they feel is sustainable there, and they want to turn, the Red Raiders into that powerhouse. The last time they were really relevant, you think, is 2008 when they had Michael Crabtree and, Mike Leach throwing it all over the place. Well, they're kind of doing the same thing now. They're, throwing verticals down the field and having a party, down in Lubbock. So I think the Texas Tech coach is really, set in his ways right now about what he's doing there. And the jury's still out. That's the biggest thing, Pryor.
I think it's almost similar to Rhett Lashley.
Yeah.
Why would you leave something like that where you're already set up and you have millions of dollars coming in at your disposal to get the players that you want? I mean, that seems like a perfect situation in this day and era of college football.
Yeah. Why leave a spigot that's open and full throttle to go to where they're really having to come up with it? That's just bad business, especially in this day and age.
And I think probably he doesn't get the credit he deserves either, because whenever people talk about Texas Tech, what do you say? Oh, you said it earlier. We know how they're getting all their players and the oil magnates, right with the blank check. And so he does it, and he should get credit because you got all these. We hear it. I hear it on the buzz all the time. Guys don't want to play. They're getting paid. It doesn't matter to them. The game doesn't matter because they're getting paid already. Well, these guys are getting paid a lot. Well, it matters to them, so you got to give him credit for getting those guys to play.
Yeah, and he was talking about the negative recruiting that coaches have really, done against Texas Tech and everything, but they get the recruits on campus and they show that the facilities are top-notch in the nation, and, not just in the Big 12, but that they can compete with a lot of schools in the nation, blow for blow. And once the recruits see that, they're bought in, and it just backfires on the coaches that are negatively recruit them against it. So, like I said, he's bought in. He believes in the product that they're putting out there right now. No matter how they're getting it, he's the one that's pulling the trigger. It's like I said, it's that 360. Even though the guy that you put in the middle has to be the right guy that pulls the trigger, and he's the right one at Texas Tech right now.
Kevin, LSU's Saturday, and it's a strange game with the interim head coaches. I got to say, and because I have family down there and sometimes I have to watch, but this may be the worst LSU team I've seen in a while. And when you look at their weakness, I think this game actually sets up good for Arkansas. And look, they've been in all these games and found a way not to win the game, but it could be the same exact thing. But I see this as a good matchup.
It really is. And, Arkansas is experienced on the defensive line as much grief as those guys have taken this year. You've got Cam Ball, you've got Quincy Rhodes Jr., even Charlie Collins and Justice Boone. Those guys that have been around for 3+ years, they're going to be going against guys that, are true freshmen or redshirt freshmen, and an offensive line for LSU that is not very good. Garrett Nussmeier running for his life against Alabama. You can't run away from the blitz, because once you do, you're going to hit the other defensive end coming at your mouth right there. So the rushing attack is not good. Arkansas held Mississippi State to 12 yards in the first half. They had a little over 100 just because they brought in a quarterback that had 55 rushing yards on like 6 carries in the second half, and they had just over 100 yards. This is the LSU rushing attack that if they finish where they're at right now, Wes, it's going to be the worst this century. That's going 25 years. That's hard to say for LSU. Thinking back to Joseph Adat, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Leonard Fournette, just all the guys that they've had in that backfield over the past 25 years. It's just hard to fathom that. Some of it's the play calling. They got the Atkins guy that was at Florida State, moved to LSU as a tight ends coach. He was promoted once their offensive coordinator was let go the day after Brian Kelly was fired. So they don't have an identity. Arkansas at least has an identity. Even though the defense, they scrapped everything, made it simple. Simple is going to be good against LSU this week.
Kevin, I appreciate it. That was the
Yeah.
good breakdown of the coaching search of LSU and a good talk. Monday Night Football is about to start up. We got to start to wrap this up. Get to the game.
That's right. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Kevin. Take care. Cabo joining us. Hogsports.com. Check him out over there. Also, check out our friends at Gwatney Buick GMC. They are a big part of this show. They sponsor all the interviews, and Black Friday's right around the corner. But this year, you don't have to wait until Black Friday. Gwatney Buick GMC is making this a month-long event. So don't go buy a car from somebody else. Head to Gwatney Buick GMC in North Little Rock. Got the new Sierra 1500 up to 20% off MSRP. 2026 Terrains, just $279 a month. 2026 Buick Encore GX, $199 a month. And don't forget about the hottest crossover out there, the 2025 Invista Preferred, $179 a month. Black Friday deals happening now in November at Gwatney Buick GMC, 5700 Landers Road in North Little Rock. Go to the website, GwatneyBuickGMC.com. Hey, if you like this video, be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, or if you're watching on Twitter or Facebook, go over to YouTube, find More Sports, subscribe to the channel, give me the thumbs up, hit that thumbs up icon to like the video. Let's keep growing this channel a little bit more. Now, earlier today, I was able to catch up with the More Sports Team of the Week, Darrell Burnett, the head coach at Hot Springs. That is one excited group right now after beating their rival, Lakeside. Let me play that for you and talk a little high school football.
Here is the More Sports Team of the Week, Hot Springs Trojans. Darrell Burnett, their head coach, joins us now. Coach, welcome in, and congratulations on the big victory over Lakeside Friday night.
Man, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a big one. We always play each other every year. It's always a big rivalry game. Last few years have had some implications added to it. I want to say last year we had to win to get in the playoffs, and we didn't live up. We laid an egg, and they played phenomenal. The year before, we was playing for a 2 through a 4 seed, and then the year before we was playing. Actually, we was going to solidify a 2 seed, and then I want to say they beat us by like 7 or whatever, and so it always has some implications. But this one was a little bit bigger. You can share a title, or we can win it outright, and and then the crowd was into it. It was electric. Thing that helped us was some schools played on Thursdays, and it was a lot of people there. It was a nice environment for our kids.
What about the team? I mean, you're down at the half, big second half, just the way that they played and never just got down on themselves. I thought that was impressive.
Yeah, it was big, and just to be honest with you, we wasn't executing right. We wasn't connected on some balls we normally connect on. We started out good, and we probably gave up a undisciplined completion on third down. Something as simple as we was in man and quarterback scramble. We got to keep our eyes on our man. We can't pick at the quarterback. That little slight separation kind of caused some key third and fourth down completions. So no disrespect, but it wasn't too much they was doing. We wasn't executing right. And then they came out the first half and had a well-balanced attack, and we wanted to keep them off balance. You can't let them run and pass whenever they want to, because that's when they're more effective. And then at halftime, really, I keep telling everybody, I keep saying, what do you say to them? I talk to my coaches, and then I just stay outside, and I go through my little processing of what I need to change call-wise, situational, football, and then they go in there and talk to the kids for a few minutes, correct it, and then we get out their way. We let them play their music and let them get their minds right, however they got to do it to get ready to play the game. So it was big, come out the second half and, score like we did, but also prevent them from scoring. They didn't score the second half. So it was big for our kids and our coaches.
How big was the drive before the half to get some points there? Get some momentum.
It was real big. We knew, and that was one thing we was preaching. We had to get something because we knew we get the ball back at halftime. And there's no thinking really in 2 minutes. So I think that was kind of got us in the rhythm, just no tempo, 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 hurry up, hurry up. What we're trying to do on first down. We practice that twice a week, so kids understand the 2-minute offense. And we've had to do the 2-minute offense twice this year, and we've executed it both times. One in Magnolia, and to win the game, and that one right there before halftime to at least get something on the board and kind of change the momentum of the game a little bit.
What's a conference title mean to Hot Springs High School?
It should mean a lot. Kids have worked the bus off for it. Man, you think about it, since we have been here, I think I've been here 8 years. And I say we, me and some of the coaches has been here since the first year when we was 1-9. I think we've been to the playoffs with 5 out of the 8. And, to get over the hump and to win a conference title with, I'm going to say, I believe we got one of the toughest conference in the state. And I used to always say it was a 7-4A when I was at Malvern, when you had all those teams in that conference. But you think about a team like Magnolia, they're not even in the playoffs this year, and they're a real good team. Still got Parkview being Parkview, and, after we beat them early in the year, everybody had a lot of red flags, but I kept on telling everybody I don't think they'll lose another game, and they've been doing a phenomenal job. Lakeside is Lakeside, and Camden Fairview always wins. So it's a tough conference, not only to win a conference championship, but to get a top seed in the playoffs and be able to host a game in front of our student sections, our community, and our seniors. That'll be big.
What was the celebration like after the game?
Yeah, it was nice. Man, I hate I miss you. I got doused with, I got covered with Gatorade. They could have put water or something on me. And Gatorade was sticky and cold, so they got me real good, and it was so many hugs and celebrations. My phone all over the place, and got in my office, had to hurry up and try to change, and family was in. I had a lot of family come down and watch, so I was in my office. After the field, crowd, people was everywhere, excited, and it was just good to see people who used to go to school here or people who used to play football here, and they was excited because, I got a lot of our former players keep texting us, and I keep telling them, they're probably not on the team right now, but none of this is possible without them. The sacrifices for them to believe in what we was trying to do. And it started in 19 when we went 5-5 with Santier Thomas and all them. I think we was like 19 points away from being 9-1, so we was that close with that team. And those guys kind of got guys to believe in what we was doing here. And so it was a big honor to see everybody celebrate, not only the kids that played, but admin, teachers, community. It was big, and it was well deserved.
It's everything that you've gone through. That had to be really fulfilling personally also.
Yeah, it has. It has. You think about all the hard work you put in. This whole little coaching journey has been it's been fun. Everybody wonder why I go from here to here, and everything was kind of like strategically planned. I said I was gonna stay at Gervin for 5 years, and then Coach James called me at Camden Fairview, and he was patient with me. And the thing about them was they couldn't win the state championship because of, I hate to say it, but defense. And he offered me the defensive coordinator job, so I was like, man, that could be either really good or that could be a career suicide. And I always asked him, like, why me, And he explained it, so we took that job and we, excelled, won the state championship, did really good. And when he left, he put me on the track and had interviews set up for me. So either stay in Camden or go somewhere else. And went to Malvern with Coach Hembry, somebody I knew and trusted. Then after I left Malvern, it was back at Bryant, and it was just because I trusted Coach James, so I wasn't really ready to leave Malvern. But went to Bryant with him. We did that, and then it was just like, what's next? So it was like, I hate to say it, but like try to grab a program that was at the bottom of the map and take on that challenge of building it up. Because I've done some stuff. I say I hate using that word, but I've done some stuff as a defensive coordinator, assistant head coach, and even head track coach at Malvern. But to be a head football coach, sometimes you want to just step out and, do things and, accomplish certain things and help other people out. That was one of my biggest goals too. If I can get the Hot Springs job and flip it and do well, hire a lot of people, send people off. And even I told my staff on Tuesday, you want to be at a school because you choose to be. And that means you work your butt off. And that means you produce and you have opportunities, but you love everything here. And that's what I want from my coaches, because I'm not a hypocrite. I know people got goals and admirations. So I got to tell them, it's this world is what have you done for me lately. So you want opportunities, you got to win ball games, you got to change lives. And, nobody can take away what we have done here in Hot Springs, but it's still not over with. We still, everybody is happy and excited right now. And I guess I'm probably going to be like the negative Nancy and tell them, okay, that's over with now. We got playoffs now.
Oh, you bring up a great point, and you lead me to my last question, because I had Coach Price at Stuttgart on last week, and he's like, I got to caution these guys because their big game with Hamburg, they won a conference title, but he's like, you know what? That's not a state title. That's a conference title, and we got a game the next week against a really good opponent in the playoffs. Similar situation with you guys. What do you do this week to make sure these guys aren't still thinking about last week?
Well, some guys, it actually helped their confidence. I think as a head coach, if you say everybody is ready for a big game, I think you probably tell the story. So certain guys are ready for a big game, and certain guys need other guys to get them over the hump, to get them going. So it's still a good thing, but I just think what has worked for us this year is, like I told my AD, I don't even know if people, when I say people, I don't even know if half our team knew we was in the playoffs last week. Like, we've been in the playoffs since Magnolia, but I made a mistake of putting emphasis on, where you win this, you got to get in the playoffs. You win this, you get this seed, and you get to do this. You play it. I put too much emphasis on all that instead of just saying day by day, week by week. And believe it or not, we really haven't mentioned our opponents that much. There's no disrespect. We just don't want to put too much emphasis on them. We want to put emphasis on us. We haven't put much emphasis on the conference championship. We didn't talk much about it, like what all the game meant. We just knew, hey, we want to win. We didn't go over the scenarios with the kids because I thought that was like negative thinking. I think if you go over the scenarios, what if, that means there's some type of doubt that you might lose, and I can't think like that. We can't think like that. And this journey in the playoffs is going to be simple. Still go over situational football, still fix special teams, still fix your mistakes from the previous week, come up with a plan that our kids like and our kids understand, where they can play fast and execute, win a turnover battle, and don't let anyone play harder than you. And that's going to be day by day, game by game. So right now we're going to focus on today's practice, and this is probably one of our longest practice of the weeks. And then we can't look ahead. We can't look to the second round. We can't say, well, this person is in this conference. We can't do that. We just, because you can't overlook BB. They got a bruiser at running back. What's the running back from Arizona State? Can't remind you of him. He's a big old bruiser. They line up in a ton of formations. Their coaches are ready. I'm ready, so I will give them. That's the only shout out I give them on that one. But it's just all about embracing the moment. And then I read, so I'm one of them coaches. I ain't gonna lie, I don't read everything, but I did read somewhere they say where Hot Springs been in this moment before, where we won the conference championship and we hosted a playoff game and they didn't live up to the moment. And like I told our coaches yesterday, they ain't got nothing to do with us. We weren't here. This ain't the same team. We're different. We just got to take care of our business, and maybe people will start believing here soon.
Coach, I believe that was a heck of a win, and congratulations. It was a no-brainer for me to make you guys the More Sports Team of the Week. I appreciate your time, and best of luck this week against BB.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate you for having me.
You bet. Darrell Burnett, Hot Springs Trojans, joining us on More Sports. Want to also give a shout out to the other teams that were in the running for the Team of the Week. And Stuttgart, we mentioned them, big win, going down to Hamburg, getting a conference title. Mills, they went to Lone Oak and got a conference title after falling earlier in the season. And then Bryant, can't overlook Bryant going to Conway, winning the 7A Central with a victory over close game, 28-21. In fact, it was the Mills. Got a shout out to the Comets and all their voters. They won the fan vote. So I do want to point out Mills and the great job they did going to Lone Oak. They lose early in the conference to Heber Springs. Some people wrote them off. They just kept stacking win after win after win, then go to week 10 to Lone Oak on the road and get the victory and the number 1 seed. So congratulations to Mills also. That was a lot of fun. Good night tonight. I appreciate you watching. Big shout out, of course, to Gwatney Buick GMC. They sponsor all of our interviews. Couldn't do it without them. If you're looking for a car, you know where to go. Go check them out at Gwatney Buick GMC or go to their website and see what they have to offer for you. Great deals in the month of November, that's for sure. Don't wait until Black Friday. You can get it now. That's going to do it for tonight. We'll be back here tomorrow night. Got a Razorback basketball game with UCA. Hope you can join us then for more sports.
All Arkansas, all sports. It's more sports.